So now today we are going to talk about inventory management in BW4HANA or BW4 system or BW1HANA system. Okay, using the ADS4 concept. So what is inventory management? In inventory management is like loading the inventory data from R3 system into BW. Okay, so what is inventory data? It's mainly deals with stock. Okay, for example, if you take any manufacturing company, so we have raw materials, and one with raw materials we prepare finished good, and we store that finished goods in inventory. So we the particular company is having finished goods. So now what happened, the stock, all the finished goods will be in the inventory, and plants, that finished goods they will sell to the retailers or wholesalers. Now what happened, when we talk about the inventory data, mainly remember we talk with respect to this plant, material, storage location, and then date also. Okay, these are the main characteristics to talk about inventory. For example, why? Because yeah, if for example there is a pen factory, so when I'm talking about the stock of a pen, then I don't take only material as an important field. Here the plant, date, and storage location, all these also acts as a important factors. So in the inventory management, the first point to remember is it's simple. When we talk about in BW terminology, to make it simple, let's directly start from our BW things. Generally, what are the data sources that supports inventory movement? Okay, if I go to LBWE, the component 03 is mainly used for the stocks. Okay. So in this 03, we have two data sources here, 2ls 03bf and um, and one more data source is there, that is bx, which is not available here, but it is there. So there are three main data sources are there. We be using these three data sources. We bring inventory information from S4 or R3 system into our BW. Okay, so this inventory is always different when compared to the other LO data sources. Okay, because in inventory we use a special type of key figure called non-cumulative key figure. So for example, to show you this, I need to open our BW system. So in key figures, we have a type of key figure called non-cumulative key figure. We use this non-cumulative key figure in this inventory. So due to this one, it is very special. Okay, it is not just like our normal key figures properties. I cannot show it here before HANA system, right? So let me open. So total stock. Total stock is one of the non-cumulative key figure, which let me open it and show you how it looks like. You see, zero total stock is a non-cumulative key figure. So how I am saying it is non-cumulative, you see there is a non-cumulation here. For example, if I open another, for example, issue total stock. If I open this info object, you see I have only one tab, general tab. But when I open the total stock, I have two tabs, general and non-cumulative. So in the non-cumulative, there is a options, inflow, outflow or non-cumulative value change. Okay, so because of this reason in inventory we use non-cumulative key figures, which is mainly this total stock key figure, which is derived based upon this two other KPIs, which is nothing but issued stock and received stock. Okay, so let me go to the PPT and explain it a little bit here. So what is non-cumulative key figure? Non-cumulative key figures can be used for a variety of measures like various type of stocks or headcount. Non-cumulative key figures are summarized over time by using the so-called exception aggregation. Last value, first value, minimum, maximum, average. So non-cumulative key figure is either calculated based on two cumulative key figures. I showed you right now in total zero total stock we have two non-cumulative key figures. One is issued stock and received stock. Or it is calculated based upon a single cumulative key figure containing the difference of inflow outflow. Or else apart from this, what I can do instead of these two, I can use another also with single value again, but that single it must be derived from other two. Okay, so this is about non-cumulative key figure. In our inventory, we mainly use non-cumulative key figures. So that's why these no, what is the why if we are using non-cumulative key figure, then why it is inventory so special? Why the reason is I will let you know. But to make it simple, these non-cumulative key figures are not visible at transformation level, are not visible in the data display of any DSO also. Those are visible only at report level. At composite provider level, you can see it, but at the cube level, you cannot see these non-cumulative key figures. Okay, so all these points you are able to understand when we go further. Okay, so let's take a scenario. So this scenario, let's skip this one. Uh, so non-cumulative key figures with inflow and outflow. We use two cumulative key figures, one for goods receipt and one for goods issue, receipt quantity, total stock minus total this one. So what will happen here to understand this one? For example, let's go to the Excel sheet to better understanding. So I have let's earlier we discussed about, we have a factory of pen. Okay, in this pen factory, there is a total stock, initial stock, or total stock or initial stock. So let's say I have 1000 pens as an initial stock. Okay. After this one, now we are talking about two KPIs, received stock and issued stock. So what is received? What is issued? Received stock is nothing but adding further inventory. Already I am having 1000 stock. For example, if I am having, if I receive 500 extra, then what is my total stock? Initial plus my received, which is nothing but 1500 is my current stock. Okay. Out of it, what is issued stock? It means moving out of the plant. Means you are moving it from your inventory to the other location or something. Okay. For out of it, for example, 300 stock, I moved out of it. Then to calculate the current stock quantity, what I need to do? 1000 is my initial stock, and then I received 500, which is nothing but total 1500 minus my issued stock. It means my current total stock is 1200. Okay, so this is how this KPI. It means the total stock out of it. Now if I want to generate my total stock key figure, this total stock key figure is derived based upon three things. One is initial stock, another one is received stock, after the issued stock. Out overall the math, after doing some maths of on these three KPIs, the overall quantity what we are getting is 1200 is my total stock. So this total stock is only visible at report level or at composite product level, which I will explain you in some time. Okay, so going back to the presentation. So this is what I am telling you now here. The non-cumulative key figure zero total stock itself is not stored in the info cube. So here I am told you, right, these non-cumulative key figures will not store the value in the key figure. So what exactly it means will not store value in the key figure means, for example, if you take, let's I created one info cube here. Okay, let's go to the info cube which I created. So the GSRINV inventory is one of the ADSO of type cube. If you see here of type cube, and then I enable this inventory enabled also, so that I can use this cube for inventory management. Now copy this one. Now what I am going to do, I am going to SAP GUI in BW. I am going to RSMNG, and then opening this ADSO active table. Utilities, display new data or active data. Okay, let's go to active data only for better understanding. Now if I go here, you see what are the fields I am seeing in my active table and what are the fields which I defined in my structure of my ADSO. So if you see here, CalDay material plant. So CalDay material plant, yeah, all these are there here. Okay, CalDay material plant is there, and then total stock. Do you see total stock field in my ADSO structure? This is important. You see, total stock is not visible here, but issued stock, received stock, base unit. So issued, received, and base unit. So it contains all the fields except the total stock. Why? Because this total stock is a non-cumulative key figure. It doesn't store at a cube level or a DSO table level. Okay, so that's what I'm saying. But only calculate on the fly when the info cube is being read by a query or any other interface. It means what exactly it means. For example, if I go to display data, data preview, let's go to reporting preview here. In the reporting preview, you see quantity of total stock. I can see it. Here on the DS active table level, I cannot see this particular column, total stock. But when I go to data preview of this DSO, you see, I can see that KPI. So that's what this statement is exactly saying. Okay, done. So non-cumulative key figures with inflow outflow. Here I'm showing you how info object is defined here with with inflow and outflow. Okay, received stock is nothing but inflow, means means addition of stock information. Issue is nothing but subtraction of stock. Okay, means going out of the inventory. So the reference characteristic here you see the last value. Exception aggregation, whichever I define, is last value, and aggregation is summation. This is the info object properties of zero total stock, which you need to understand here. Okay, now coming to the data extraction. So now comes to this total part. In SAP ERP, now we are talking about standard. Okay, in our standard SAP ERP system or S4 system, there are two extractors that covers the initial stock balance, historical movements. It means if you have an inventory of material, then these two data sources are mainly responsible to handle the stock movements. 2LS03BX is for the initialization of stock, and 2LS03BF is for the goods movement. It means in the example also, whichever I taken to explain you in the Excel sheet, I told you that initial stock is 1000. Then I shown you for example, there is a transaction happened, 5,500 I received, 300 I issued. So this is nothing but the goods moment, and this is nothing but the initial stock. Okay. So the data source to LIS underscore 03 underscore BX will provide this kind of stock information. So this is your initial stock, it will tell. Okay, and the data source to LIS underscore 03 underscore BF will provide this kind of information, how much you taken, how much you given. Such those goods moments will be issued by this data source. Next, so the extractor is you so the same thing I mentioned in this PPT. Okay, next question. Steps to initialize the stock in SAP BW. For example, if you have a fresh system and you never did this stock initialization, and first time you are trying to bring this stock information into your BW, then what is the process of doing it? Okay, so let's look into in the system, that one. So as you know, in R3 system, if you want to utilize any data source from in R3 in our BW, first what you need to do, you need to activate the data source from RSA5. So from RSA5, you need to expand this tree and search for your 2LS03 data source. Search for underscore 2LS underscore 03. You see there are BF, BX and UM, three data sources are there. So first of all, you need to activate these data sources. Then once you activated UM, then what will happen? Once you activate in RSA5, it will come to RSA6. So let's check whether they are in RSA6 or not. 2LIS underscore 03. Okay, you see BF, yeah, they are in, means already these three data sources got activated. So once after activated, what we need to do, we will check whether these are in LBWE /in LBWE. So in LBWE, which is nothing but LO data cockpit, so under 03 data source, you can see those data sources. Currently, you see 0 BF is in active, green status, but UM it is not in active. It means still, you cannot, use this data source until it is green. How to activate any data source here? By clicking on the inactive, it will toggle the state from inactive to active. At that time, it will ask for a TR. Just to provide the TR number, then that's it. It is activated. Okay, so after activating these two data sources, what next we need to do? We need to fill the setup tables. For LO data sources, setup tables filling is one of the common activity. Okay, so now in this setup tables filling, for all other data sources, setup table filling is nothing but simply going to the corresponding transaction code and executing it. But when coming to the stock, inventory, there is a process. Okay, so you cannot, for example, if I take in 11 data sources, I have many here, right? Whichever data source I want to load data, initial fill set tables of this data source, simply there is only one transaction code for each component, means for 0 to 1, for 11, 1, 8, 1, 6, 1. For each and every component, there is only one transaction code. If you fill the set tables using the transaction code, all the active data sources will get populated with the information. But when coming to inventory, it is not the case. Okay, so in inventory you have each we have separate transaction code for initialization and goods movement and stock evaluation. Okay, so now look into it here. So first, what are the steps we need to perform here? Deletion of select tables. This is also already known concept. If you are learning this one, I know, I hope you already know this. Before filling select tables, it is mandatory first to clear the select tables of existing data, or else what will happen? Duplicate data will come and sit in your select tables. That's why before filling select tables, for same selection without any selection, first delete the select tables and then fill the select tables. So while filling select tables, the first you need to fill for the initialization. Okay, so that is nothing but 2ls03bx. In order to fill select tables for this data source, you need to go to transaction code called mcnb. Okay, let's go to the mcnb transaction code /n mcnb. So in this, what is this? BW, initialization of opening stocks and transfer structure. Okay, remember, so this initialization of a stock in stock cannot be done whenever you want. Okay, so remaining all data sources, it is okay. At least somehow we can do it. But when coming to inventory, it is not possible to do the initialization of stock in BW to bring data to BW whenever you want. If you want to perform stock initialization in a BW, you have to stop the business, because it is that much critical, because it involves the stock quantities, KPIs, right? This is stock initialization. This KPI must be accurate. It means if the business is running, there is a lot of transactions happens on R3 system. It means there is a chance of goods movements from one location to another location. There is a chance of extra adding new things also. So before you running this MCNB transaction to initialize the stocks in that set of tables, what you need to do first, you need to lock your all the users and stop your lock all the users so that no new transactions will happen on your system until this stock initialization got completed. It means the filling of seller tables of the stock initialization till completed, we are not supposed to unlock any user so that no new transactions will happen in the system which impact your stock values. Okay, once after stock initialization over, then we can run our business as usual so that we can move this data into our BW without any problem. Okay, that too there are some challenges are there, which we need to, which we can check later. So what I'm saying here, we go to MCNB. So I hope by this time already all the users are locked, no transactions are happening. So now here we need to initialize the stock. So how we are going to do it? Yeah, name of the run is fine. Termination date is always important. The termination date must be future date. This is same for other self tables filling also. What I will do is generally I will keep next month. So it means I am giving 30 to 31 days buffer here for termination date. And then transfer structure. If you go to F4 help here you will find 2LS03BX. Okay, and then here we won't give any, if it is too much data we will give selection. If not, we don't give any selection and we select only value to stock here and click on execute. Not execute, sorry, go to program, execute in background. We always fill select tables in the background. Why? Because select tables filling will take a lot of time. If you execute in foreground, once after certain amount of time, there is a chance that your job may kill. But if you execute in background, the job will run continuously till the job stops. Now what will happen for whenever you set up, you fill all the required information and then execute your job, what will happen? A background job will be created for you. Okay, a background job will be created for you. So how it looks like, I will show you today morning. Now also we can see, go to program, execute in background. Here it will ask for output device LP01 you can give. Click on OK, click on OK, immediate, check, save. So you see background job was scheduled and some with the program name RMCB, something like this. Now if I go to /n SM37 to check my background job, click on execute button, you see RMB DW. It was created and already finished also. because it is demo server, we don't have any data to see also. So that's the reason it was finished very successfully. Now if I go to RSA3 and take my zero data source and click on extraction, if it will fetch some data, but since it is a demo system, I don't have any data to show, so I cannot show you. But this is the process. So once after this initialization was successful, what is our next step? Our next step is to execute the filling of select tables for the next one. So what is the next step? Next one, goods movements, which is nothing but BF. Okay, so to fill the set tables of BF, what is the transaction code? Here in the PPT, I given a transaction code for to fill set tables of OLI1 BW. So now simply /n OLI1 BW. Go here. You see select table instruction for material movements. Here also you can select name of the run. You can give to ls underscore 03 underscore bf here and termination date future. Okay. Select by posting date, selected by material document. Selected by posting date, I can think go to executing background LB01. Immediate check save. That's it. So you see there is RMCBNE is created. Now if I go to SM37, I can see with this name a job was created and finished. Because there are no records, so it is not fetching any data, so it was finished. So like this you will fill select tables for the stock initialization and for the goods movement. Once after done these two, then we go for our BW side. So in BW side now our target is to bring this data into our BW. Okay, so to bring this data into BW you need to do something. What is it? So what is that we need to do? Understanding DSO. Just a second. Now what we will do in BW, so when it comes to BW, what will happen is when for this inventory, generally what we do for all other data sources, we can generally create our own DSOs, okay, to store the data. But when coming to inventory, most of the projects what they do is they use the standard SAP given data DSOs cubes, okay. So the inventory for because we are learning it on BW4HANA system. So for what will happen is here SAP given one thing is there. Let me show you inventory. Second, inventory /IMO. Hmm. Inventory TS was given by SAP. So let's try to use this. Show you how it is. Why? Because for inventory we always choose SAP in. So now what happened for inventory, for example, if I open this inventory ADS4 given by SAP, so you see under this folder /IMO/BCT is HANA business content. Under this supply chain management, under inventory management, we have this integrated DWH layer. Under this we have stock quantities, values and material movements. Okay, so these are the three different DSOs given by SAP to load this initial quantities. Okay, when coming to this inventory, all projects will use mostly the SAP given standard ones. Why? Because here a lot of code SAP derived information also there. If you see here, there is a info source. You see what is this TRCS is nothing but info source. Under this info source, there is something stock initialization. You see 2LS03BX is a stock initialization IS00. From IS00 I am loading into MM01, which is nothing but stock quantities. Okay, So stock quantities is nothing but here quantities information will be there, and values are nothing but amount KPIs, currency values will be available under stock values. Okay, let's focus on the stock quantities. So what happened initially, it comes to this BX and then BF. These two we need to, 1 minute. In my system, what happened is this BX was not replicated. That's why it is not showing the transformation here. But if I go to this transformation, since inventory data is not available, what I did, I didn't use this particular standard flow to explain you. I created a custom flow completely to explain this scenario. But let's have a look on the standard flow also once for your understanding. Now, if I go to this rule details, you see, we have info source. From info source, when data coming to this, target ADS flow, we have so many formulas we are using here. Okay, for example, if I take in this batch, so there is a formula written here. So properties, there is a formula written to uppercase of batch cal day for goods moment. So there were a lot of code also involved when data coming from here to here. So that's why we always use the standard flow. Okay. So what is the, when I go to this one, from BF to here, S01, yes. To, let me open this one. So this is between the goods material movements to the info source, and if I go here, here also a lot of code is written. Where I can say, yeah, no, it is all one-to-one mapping. Okay, so I don't want to take time here. So the point to be considered here is we always use standard ADS was given by SAP to for the inventory flow. Okay, that's all. But now my wish is to explain you how exactly these inventory values are stored in these providers. Okay, because if you see here, if I open this stock quantities, this is a what type of ADSO it is? It is a cube type ADSO. Okay, and then what happened here, inventory was enabled, these two check boxes, and what we are doing, we are using non-cumulative key figures, total stock. So when we have this kind of architecture, so how exactly this ADSO is behaving, that's what I want to explain you. So to explain this, I am not using this standard flow because of not having data. So what I did, I created a custom flow completely to explain this. So for this, what I did, I recreated the scenario with the help of SAP documents. So what I did, I created one table called inventory stock balance. Okay, so in this inventory stock balance, what happened? I taken 6 different materials and I initialized the stock of these 6 materials. Okay, so I have M01, 2, 3, 4 until 6 materials are there on particular date 5/8/2023. These are my initial stocks. It means in my inventory currently each material 1000, this M0 to 1500 tons of in quantity of information is available. Okay, so this is my initial stock, because now I stopped this my complete business. So this is my initial stock. This stock doesn't change until I re unlock my users. Okay, now after this, what will happen? On top of this table, I created a data source. Okay, /for rs4 rs2. I created a data source called GDS inventory stock. So this data source is of type, inventory enabled. So how I can say this inventory enabled? Go to extraction tab. Here you see init non-cumulative data source generated instance. Okay, this particular data source was created on top of my initial stock information. Okay, now this data source is almost equal to my 2LS03BX stock initialization data source. Okay, now using this data source, I replicated this data source into BW. Okay, so how I replicated into BW? So you see, I created one inventory cube in BW first point, GSR inventory. Here I taken a combination of cal day, material plant and the key figures, total stock, issued stock, received stock, and then unit for the quantity. So with this I created a cube type ADS for inventory enabled. So this is one point. So when we create this particular cube type inventory, so the next point what we need to understand is when we create ADS4 in the backend, SAP creates a set of tables. Okay, SAP creates a set of tables. So for inventory enabled, where is this window? Hmm. Second, went somewhere. Hmm. So this is A4H. Somehow BW system not opening. Let me reopen BW. So if I go to SC11 and then provide give my ADS for name. So this is my ADS for name. Before and after I am giving stars and I am pressing F4. This will tell you how many tables are created for this ADS4. If I create a cube type ADS4 which is of inventory enabled, then I have 5 tables created. One inbound table. The last one is sequential number. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1 is nothing but inbound table. 2 is nothing but active table. 3 is change log. 4 is validity table. And 5 is reference point table. All these tables are very important to understand the inventory properly. Okay. Now moving back to my here, understanding ADS4 tables. So what we are going to understand here. So new requests are loaded. Whenever I perform a data load into this table, so generally we know that the data initially comes into the inbound table. And when I activate this data in the inbound table, yeah, this also we know. So the table ends with 2. When we activate any request in the inbound table, data loads into active table. So this everyone knows. But while loading data into active table, generally if it is a standard ADS4, it will create entries in the change log. But for cubes, it won't create any change log. Okay, that point is important. This inventory ADS4 is also of cube type, so it won't create any change log records. Okay. Now what are the next one? The validity table. So the validity table stores the time intervals for which non-cumulative values have been loaded into the provider. So this point, remember this validity table, we are going to see this in coming time. Okay. And the last one is reference table. The table ending with number 5 is nothing but reference point table. Contains the reference points for non-cumulative key figures. Unlike for InfoCube, reference points are stored in separate table for advanced ADS4s. Okay, because it is advanced ADS4, reference points will be stored in this table. We will closely understand the data storing in this reference point table also in coming time. Now next, go into the system. So now what I am going to do, so in my Eclipse, now to my inventory cube, I created a transformation from my inventory stock, inventory initialization data source. So this is the data source which we created. Okay, so GDS inventory stock balance is our, like this data source is similar to our BX data source 12S03 BX. So this particular data source, if you see here, it always loads opening balance. Okay, it means current stock values. This particular data source is responsible. Okay, remember this is almost equal to our 12S03 BX data source. Okay, that is also loads only for opening balance, and the extraction you can see it is just like this only. Now when I create a transformation from this data source into my ADS4 in the transformation, so there is no much things, but remember I am initializing my stock, right? So the KPI total stock coming from this particular data source is mapped to the received stock. Means because currently this is the stock which I am having. So the mapping in the total stock is mapped to the received stock in the target queue. Okay, remember this point. Now what I will do is let me go to this particular DSO and delete the data, and then I will try to reload the data. Then I will show you how exactly it looks like. Okay, now with simple examples. Where is my ADS1 BW system /in rsmng. I'm deleting my data in this cube because I already having some requests here. So to understand better how exactly inventory, this non-cumulative key figure works, I'm going to delete the data here. Delete content. Yes. So now this cube doesn't have any data. So it means almost I'm doing my initialization first time. Okay. Now I'm going to the DTP of my stock initialization. So in the DTP of stock initialization, you see, because this DTP is created on top of initialization, this one, initial non-cumulative for non-cumulative values, this kind of, setting will be is there. You cannot change it. It will be like this only. Just what we need to do, simply execute this particular DTP. So what will happen? This particular DTP will load data of initial stock into your cube. Okay. Generally, if you take a standard data flow, this DTP loads data from 2LX03BX data source into your inventory cube. Okay, but in our example scenario, this particular DTP loads data from our initial stock table into our cube. So now you see, now 6 records got loaded. So these 6 records are nothing but my initial stock balance of my 6 materials, each material and its corresponding current stock information. Okay, now what happened? These 6 records got loaded into my inbound table. Now if I go to new utilities, display new data, execute, you see I have inbound table. So this is clear, but the important point to remember in this particular table is the record DTP. Okay, so what is this record DTP? Record DTP is very important here because record DTP will tell you what kind of records these are. Okay, so while writing the initial stock balances into the inbound table, BW filled the technical field record type with value 1. Okay, this is reference point. Okay, so this record type, record DTP, record type we call it as, is a reference point, very important to understand. For the initial records, it is 1. Okay, now 1. So next thing. So now what I am going to do is I am going to S11. Okay, in the S11 I told you, right, apart from these tables we have other tables also. Now if I go to the active table, yeah, because first time I'm loading, nothing will be there in active table. Now go to validity table. Here do we have any records here? You see I have one record here. Click on execute. You see 2023-0852. So on this particular date I loaded the data. So this which contains a time reference. Okay, and then let's go to the phi table also. Reference point table. Phi table is nothing but a reference point table. If I execute this table, currently it doesn't contain any records. Okay, now next what I'm going to do. So remember in my inbound table I have record DTP type 1. Now what I am going to do, I am activating my request in the inbound table. Okay, so go back one step and activate your request. So what you need to remember, when I activate my initial request here, it doesn't now go to the inbound table. It doesn't contain any records because sorry, activation step will move the data from inbound to active table. So it's moved already. Go to utilities, go to active table, click on execute. So sorry, active table, you see data not came to active table. So why? Because why so? Let's go into here. Data in reference table. So after loading the initial stock balances, we activate the request. So we did it already. The activation of request with initial stock balances transfers the data from inbound table into the reference point table. It means what SAP did, SAP loaded this data initial stock into reference point table instead of active table. In general, if it is a DSO, you see this in the active table, but because it is an inventory scenario, now if I execute my reference table 5 number, you see my initial stock was loaded into my reference table. Okay, this is important point here. So as of now, my active table doesn't contain any data. When I activated my initial stock information, it moved the information to reference table, not to the active table. Okay, and my here, what any change here? So when I activated this one in my time reference table also, my request ID got compressed. So no more, because active records doesn't contain any request ID. It was removed, and then I can see these two things like this. So go to the next step. Data in the active and valid table. At this point of time, there is no records in active table, and I showed you, right? Reference table also contains one record with the this one. So this by this time we are done with the what we are done. We are done with this stock initialization in the cube. So next what we are going to do, the next step is loading the historical information. Okay, so what is historical information? So to load the historical information in in R3 side, I created a table called G movements. Okay, in this G movements table, I captured some of the historical data. So today is 5/8, 5th date, right? Um, One second, not from here. Let's go to SM30. Go to this G moments, edit. So here I have the moments information. So I did the initialization on 5/8/2023. So definitely my historical moments must have data less than or equal to the date, but not the future date. So I'm going to remove this 6/8 record here and clicking on save button. So these are all my historical moments. Okay, so now I am going to load this historical moments information into my BW. In general, if we take the standard data flow, this historical moments will be loaded from your BF data source 2LS03BF into your cube. Because I don't have data, I created this moments information and I created a transformation from moments into my cube. And if you see here, moments always contains received and issued stock. So my received one mapped to my received quantity and issued quantity from the goods movement was mapped to my issued stock in the target. Okay, calendar material plant was mapped as it is. Okay, and then here you see at transformation level also we cannot see this non-cumulative key figures. Okay, and remember that. Now it is done. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to execute my DTP. But important point before executing this DTP is, okay, in the extraction or update, in the update tab, there is a checkbox called historical transactions, because now you are going to load into the cube the historical transactions, right? So when you are loading historical transactions, it is very must to enable this checkbox historical transactions, activate it and then load the data into the cube. Without checking this, if you are trying to load historical records into your cube, then your data will be, corrupted. So we cannot do anything. But what happen is because here I am using a data source of my own, which is not delta enabled. In standard data flow, this 2LS03PF is a delta enabled data source. If you initialize now, then automatically delta will be initialized in the R3 system and all new records will be captured in the next DTP. But in my case, the data source which I created here is a generic data source of without having any delta moment. So now to extract later and to extract before means initialization before and after I must have some separation, right? So for that reason, what I did at a transformation level, I created a routine. Okay, this is for my purpose. This is not available in the standard flow. Okay, don't get confused. But what is my intention here? My intention is to load historical data into my cube. So by doing something, I am loading data which is not greater than this initialization date. Okay, to do so, what I did here, one second, I did some settings, not to do anything also. One second. Hmm. Minute. I will go to str. We'll see here. Just I made some temporary settings here. So this is my temporary setting. So you no need to know about this setting at all. What we simply do, we simply go here, we execute our DTP. Okay, so where is my DTP? So this DTP is loading data from goats moments into our cube. So simply execute the DTP. So what will happen? All the records, historical moments information available in my table will be loaded into this cube. Okay. Now if I go to RSMNG, you see 10 records are there, 10 records got loaded. If I go to inventory utilities, new data, execute. Now you see 10 records came. So the point here to remember is a record DTP. Record type. Earlier the record type is 1, right? Now record type 2. 2 means nothing but our movements information. Okay, historical or delta and delta information here. Okay, so 2 is there, right? Here if you see issued stock, total stock for each calendar day material plant combination, I can see the issue and total stock here. So if you check my PPT also, so here I mentioned it is must to enable this historical transaction information, and then when we check in the inbound table, the historical information will be loaded with record type 2. Okay, so once after data came into record table 2, so what I did, I created a BEX query. Okay, so now I have inventory historical information available in my cube, and I have the initialization stock also available in the cube. Now if I execute my BEX query, so if you see my system here, I created a BEX report. Go to query here. On top of this inventory cube, I created BEX query with all the fields, calendar material plant here and key figures here, and executed. And then I came coming here and just simply refreshing my data in the here. Now if you see here on 5/8/2023, I did stock initialization. You see 1000 exactly my stock initial my total stock here is matching with my initialization stock here. Okay, and my historical information is also available here. So to get this 1000 stock for M01, so what happened here on 3/8/2021, 500 stock was received. Again on 4/8 when again on 5/8 I got a 600. Where is M01 here? I got 600 stock, which is 1100 stock here, but I issued 100 stock. So out of 1100 minus 100,000 stock quantity. Okay, so my report currently displaying my total stock quantity and historical movements also. So all good so far. Okay, so now next what I am going to do. Now I am going to activate my table activate my request in the historical data. Okay, sorry, in the inbound table. Okay, the activation of request with historical moments transfers the data from inbound table to active table. The record type is still 2 and the request information is gone. Okay, what exactly it means? Currently in my inbound table, I have my 10 records with record type 2. So I'm going one step back. I'm activating my request. And then inbound table gone. Now go to the active table. So earlier we have 0 records in the active table. Now I can see my historical moments here. Okay, so now if you see here, if you take M01 as your initial one of the filter here, for M01 I have received stock 1100 and my issued stock 100, 1100 minus 100,000, which is matching to our initial stock value. Okay, so historical moments got loaded successfully into the here. So what next? So at this point of time, reference table, and this reference table is not yet disturbed. Reference table contains the initial stock values. Okay, so this is the phi table. If I refresh my data in the phi table, there is no change in the reference table. And if I check my time reference table, here also there is no change. It is exactly as it is. What happened now? When I perform the historical load by enabling the historical DTP checkbox, the data came into inbound table with record DTP type 2, and the same data got moved into my active table also with record DTP type 2. So far all good. My inventory is exact report showing exact the quantities what I have in the R3 system. Now we are going to learn about how to load delta. What will happen if next means after doing this one, now system already users got unlocked, right? Now there is a chance of goods movement, means there is a we can change goods, means sell, so quantities got changed. So what to say now? Now I am going here. I am generating a delta record here. New entry. So for example, on 6th date for M01 material for the plant, same plant, I am received a stock of 200 and I sold a stock of 500. It means, and here the unit is tons. Let's take tons. It means for M01, I received a stock of 200 from the inventory and I issued a stock, means I released from my inventory 500 stock got moved out. Okay, this is the transaction happened. So now I am saving this one. So now this is my delta moment. Okay, after stock initialization done in BW, now this is the delta moment captured. In general, this delta was captured in our delta queues of 2LS03 BF data source. But because we are using custom data sources, I am generating this particular record here in this my goods moment table. Okay, now I am loading this particular record into BW. To load this data into BW, I need to do one setting here. Let me do that setting before doing this one. Mm. Mm. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to execute this DTP one more time. But before executing this DTP, always remember uncheck this historical transaction, because whichever transactions now I am going to load into BW are delta moments. Those are not at all historical moments. Those are live transactions, right? So remove the uncheck this historical transactions and then execute your DTP. Now what will happen? The data will come from the delta queue into your BW, cube. So now I'm expecting one record got loaded into my cube in inbound table. So if I refresh here now, what is happening? You see one record got loaded. Now if I go to utilities, new data, execute. So a new record, you see, when if it is not historical data, which is delta moments, my record DTP got changed from 2 to 0. When I initially loaded the initial data, we got 1. When I am loading historical data, we got 2. When I am loading the delta moments, I got 0 here. You see the differences of record TTP. That is very important to understand here. Now I got one record where it is showing a transaction for M01 with issued quantity 500 and received quantity 200. Okay. Now at this point of time, did any changes happen to my reference point table is important. This is reference point table. Currently it is 1000, right? Now I am refreshing my table. You see, nothing got happened. Still it is showing 1000 only. Okay. So let me go to the PPT also. This is done, right? Delta moments, whichever I shown you here, we have different numbers, but this content is same. Now after loading the delta moments, we activate that request. Okay. So let's activate that request and see what is happening. Now go to your here, go back one step, activate this request. Now activated. So once activated, now go to the active table to check the how the data looks like. Active data, execute. Now I have 11 records are there. Since I did data load for M01, I am keeping a filter on M01 to see. So you see on M01, I see a record with 68 and it is showing the exactly the transaction 200 received and 500 issued. So there is no, okay, it's matching with our inbound data set. But what is my current stock of my M01 material is my point, right? So to get that information, I need to go to my reference table. Now refresh here. You see stock is 700. Is it correct or not? Let's do a math here. Okay. So my stock, initial stock is 1000 and then I received 200. Then it becomes 1200. Out of 1200, I issued 500. Okay, so minus 500. Then what is my total stock here? My total stock is 700, which is exactly matching with my reference table 700. You see 700. Okay, so this is how exactly it works. Okay, so how exactly received total stock got changed to 700? It was performed by this TTP setting and internal method. Okay, done by SAP. Um, Now finally, this active table. If I see active table, in active table I have 1300 here and 600 here, issued stock, and then 700, right? Yeah. minus 1300 minus 600, right? It is equal to 700. So which is my current total stock exactly. So reference point table contains the current stock values. That is important here. Okay. Now going back to the PPT. So if here in the PPT you see I loaded a stock with 1,000 received stock, 2,000 issued stock. So when coming to the math here, initially my stock is 1,000 and then I received 1,000, total 2,000. Out of it I issued 2,000. So total stock is 0. In this case my reference table is showing 0. Okay, so this is how exactly the inventory non-cumulative key figures will be appear. Now if I refresh my report here, okay, now if I reset my data in my report side, I can see my total stock of M1 700. Always remember, when you see the data at inventory cube, it always provides the latest information. Remember, okay, it always provides the latest information. For example, let me remove this calendar day and put it in a background filter. Okay, now also you see I am getting 700. Inventory reports always shows current stock values. It is difficult for us to get the historical movements information here. For example, if I want to have 1,000 on total stock, it is not possible. You have to do this math on your own, but inventory reports always shows stock at current stock in values. Okay, using this non-cumulative key figures. Okay, so that's all about inventory. So what we learned, a quick recap here. So we have two different data sources mainly responsible for this inventory, 2ls03bx and another one is 2ls underscore 03 underscore bf. Okay, so bx is used for initialization of stock and this bf is used for goods movements. Okay, so when we load this data into BW, first we load initial stock and then we load historical moments and then we load delta moments. Okay, so initial stock comes from here and the BF, right? BF, whenever we trigger this historical moments, we load with a delta in it and automatically when delta loads, or else what we can do, yeah, with the delta in it and then remove the checkbox and load the delta moments using this delta DTP. So which brings the delta information to cube. Okay, and we have multiple tables are there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but change log table we don't use because it is a cube. Okay, and we seen three record types. Okay, what are those three? Two, what is it? Initially one for the initial stock references, and then we seen two which is for historical moments. Okay, and then 0 for delta moments, but this 0 turns into 2, this 0 initially in inbound table, but when I load this record when I activate this record, what will happen, you see, again this sixth record turns into DTP2. When we activate this in delta moments information, when this request got activated, this record type 0 turns into 2 in the active table. Okay, so active table 5 always contains the reference table and reference data information, current stock values. We can find it in the table number 5. Okay, so I hope it is clear.